Good afternoon and welcome to an exciting afternoon of NCAA gymnastics. My name's Christina Chauvenet and we have an exciting match today between the North Carolina Tar Heels and the Towson Tigers. I'll be with you this afternoon here on ACC Network Extra. And as I mentioned, we're just getting started. Teams are getting set. This is the mental health awareness meet. You see Kaja Hislop there staying loose in the warm-ups. I really think this is a great theme. Carolina has a theme for every home meet, and as this one is the mental health awareness meet. Interestingly, last week, Towson had their mental health awareness meet. I think it's great that these teams are raising awareness of this important issue here today, and we're going to see some really exciting gymnastics. Both teams are hoping to build on their average scores. So just as a reminder of how collegiate gymnastics works, right now we are using averages for ranking. So UNC is currently ranked 3rd in the East Atlantic Gymnastics League and 33rd nationally. While Towson is ranked 6th in the East Atlantic Gymnastics League. And as we move further into the season, we'll move into what's called RQS. When we move into RQS, the teams will be able to drop some of their lower scores, but now there's not enough scores for that to be able to happen. All teams need to have 6 scores to compute the regional qualifying score. So right now we have scoring averages. What that means is you see Towson warming up here on the uneven bars. For the RQS score, you have to you take your 6 highest scores, 3 of which have to be road scores. So that means it's really important for Towson here to get off to a good strong road score that they can count towards their RQS. I did have a chance to talk to the assistant coaches for Towson University before this meet, and that's Jason and Mary Fredericks. And Jason told me, they're really aiming to qualify for regionals this year. And they do have some work to do on improving their ranking in order to do that. But I really think it's great that they're setting those goals for themselves. When I asked him what their goal for this meet was, he said to win. And again, I really like that. I like that competitiveness in college gymnastics. Just to keep in mind, the wins and losses don't actually matter in terms of the ranking as you move towards regional qualifications, but this is college sports. Obviously, these teams want to win. They want to do really well. Looking at Kaja Hislop right there getting set to warm up, she is currently the UNC's top performer on all 3 events that she performs. She competes on all the events except for the uneven bars and has had a really successful season. Last week, on the 3 events she competed against the University of Pittsburgh, all of her scores were above 9.9. So she's really been rock solid for the Tar Heels so far this season. Towson University ranked 56th nationally. So again, the top 36 teams qualify to regionals. So they do have some work to do in terms of climbing the ranks if they want to make it to regionals. One of the things to keep in mind with Towson, as I was able to talk to the volunteer assistant coach, Jason Fredericks, he told me, they did lose quite a lot of routines from their senior class last year, really trying to work on rebuilding that. They have struggled with some injuries in preseason, but they put together a really nice meet last weekend and hoping to build on that. And one of the athletes that we're going to talk about a lot for Towson today is Marielle Arduino. She has been a really consistent competitor for Towson. She does a triple series on beam, has a really lovely line throughout her work. Looking at Michaela Robinson there warming up on vault, also has been really successful for the Tar Heels so far this season. So we're as we move into this RQS, both teams are really looking to build. Both teams have scores that they want to drop moving towards RQS. You only end up using 6 scores, technically 5, because you drop the highest of the 6 highest scores. So both teams have some scores that they want to drop. With UNC, what they've seen, the first 2 meets, they had sort of a slow but steady performance. The last 2 meets, they've had 3 rotations that have gone really well and 1 rotation that they've had to count a fall and sometimes 2 falls. Last week when they were at Pittsburgh, they had a their lowest bars total of the year, and so that's an event we're really going to be looking for. That's going to be critical for UNC to improve their position as we move to RQS. And I talked to Derek Galvin before the meet, and one of the things he told me is, he really wants to see them do is put together 4 complete rotations where he really feels like they're performing to their best ability. Again, vault and floor have been really consistent, really strong for them throughout their time. Beam and bars are going to be the events that we're really going to look to see that consistency. And as we get started here, we're going to look at Drew Aldridge is our first competitor. She's a freshman. She's a really powerful gymnast. She's going to be performing that Yurchenko full, very popular vault in NCAA gymnastics. It starts out of a 9.95. And nice job. She's really improved her control of that landing, really minimizing the deductions there. So we are looking to the landing. We're also going to look at the amplitude, the shape that the athletes are able to keep throughout the air. She did a pretty good job. Small pike down on the end. We really want to see in those laid out Yurchenkos for the athletes to keep their body completely straight throughout the entire rotation. But she's gotten Carolina off to a really good start, has been really consistent for them so far this season. And on bars, we have Courtney Baker. And you can see her just getting a few words of encouragement from her teammates. She's one of their strongest bar workers. I always think that the lineup strategy is really interesting because most teams tend to put their stronger performers at the end of their lineup. In Towson's case, they put one of their stronger performers at the start of that lineup. I think that they probably like for her to get them off to a really strong start. Look at this combination. Maloney to that pack salto did struggle with the form, but that is a really difficult combination. She's moving through the rest of the routine nicely. Good final handstand there. She's gearing up for her dismount. And really nice stuck landing. Just some form issues throughout the uneven bars. When we're looking at the bar routines, what we're going to be looking for is for the athletes to keep their legs together throughout the routine, and also for them to maintain swing. And then finally, for some of those elements that are reaching up in a handstand, we want to see them right in 180 degrees. There were her final handstand when she did her pirouette into that double back. She was a little bit shy, but overall strong start. And now we're seeing Megan Ruzicka. Megan's story is so interesting. She is a graduate student. She was on the University of Iowa gymnastics team for 2 years. Had an elbow injury, thought she was done with the sport, came back, is now competing as a graduate student, also doing that Yurchenko full. Gosh, just didn't get the block off the table, and it looks like she might have stung her heels a little bit. When you come in short, that can really hurt your ankles. So yeah, that is obviously the score that Carolina is going to want to drop. As a reminder, in the events, there's 6 athletes up. They count 5 scores, so they do have the ability to drop one. Does not affect the team total, but they'll want to see the other athletes come back strong. And now we've got Brittany Ranty on bars for Towson. Nice first handstand there. And that's her Tkachev release. Lacked some amplitude on that, which is another thing that the judges are looking for. And just a little bit shy of that handstand on her transition to the low bar. And she's gearing up. Another one of those athletes that does that full pirouette into the double back. Really nice landings. Both of these first 2 athletes have had nice landings, although their pirouettes have been a little bit shy. So when we see the athlete do those turning elements, we want to see them finish in handstand. And now we're looking at Alexis Allen getting set here. And she does a Yurchenko Arabian, so she does a half twist That vault also starts out of a 9.95, and that means that's the maximum score they can receive if they don't get any deductions. Nice vault. You know, she has such good form in the air. I think she was probably trying to stick that vault a little bit too much and came in a little bit short, had to take that step back. And when we're looking at landings, when the vault landings are forward, also with tumbling passes, it's much more challenging because it's a blind landing. The athlete's not able to see the floor before they land. So sometimes those landings can be tricky. But overall, nice job. And now we're seeing Tess Zientek for Towson. And Courtney Baker, the leadoff, had a 9.75. Just shy on that handstand. Nice hop, though. And yet just a couple of places in some of these bar routines where I think the handstands need to be a little bit more on top of the bar. Every time an athlete is short on a handstand, the judges should be taking a deduction. Really, it seems like with the Towson gymnasts, that full pirouette into the double back is a really popular dismount. And they're all handling their landings really nice. Again, just want to see them finishing those pirouettes closer to handstand. And now we're getting a look at Madison Hargrave here, the senior. She's another one of those athletes doing a Yurchenko full. She has done really well this season on vault. Got her career high a couple weeks ago at the whole meet of a 9.875. And really nice job. She got so much distance. That's another thing we're really looking for from these vaults, is that the athlete is getting enough amplitude and distance, height and distance off that horse. She did a really good job. Just that small hop on the landing, and the size of the deduction is proportionate to the size of the hop or the step. In general, a step on landing gets a smaller deduction than a hop because a lunge back shows a little bit more control. But she had a pretty small hop. That's probably going to be a half a tenth to a tenth hop. And just waiting on the judges to submit their final scores. And we're looking at Leah Smith here. Just waiting for those judges to submit their final scores. Looks like one of the judges has submitted it. I do see a 9.65 flashing over there for the first judge. And 9.75 from the second judge. So it looks like it was a 9.7. And this can be a really tricky place for a gymnast when you're ready to go and then you have to wait like that for the green light. That can be frustrating. See how she handles that here with that Tkachev. Nice job. Again, maybe just needs a little bit more amplitude. And that's that bail to handstand, which is a very popular release. She did have some form issues on that release move. Again, gearing up for that dismount, full turn into that double back. She did have some form breaks throughout that routine, but showed a lot of resilience through that and fought back with that dismount. And now we're getting a look at Michaela Robinson. She is the sister of Ariana Robinson, a graduate from Cal Berkeley. Although she does not do the same vault as her sister, any fans of Ariana Robinson will know she did that very unusual front handspring onto the board and then a front pike. Michaela does a more traditional Yurchenko full. Nice job. She has really been honing that vault in. She really shows off her power, and we're going to see that same power on the floor exercise. But she hasn't quite been able to stick it yet, but is so dynamic in the air, really getting a lot of height and distance. But I did ask Michaela if she ever thought about doing her sister's vault, and she looked at me like she was like, I would never ever do that. So really difficult vault that her sister did, and really rare, but definitely shows off some of the same power. And now we're looking at Allie Wesley, and she is from North Carolina, so she's got a lot of fans here. Nice high Jaeger there. I really like the amplitude she got on that. She's moving through this routine nicely, really aggressive on that final handstand. Again, that full turn into the double back. I think that's their best bar routine so far. Really nice job there for Allie Wesley. And you know, when I was talking to the assistant coach before the meet, Allie was one of the athletes that he mentioned to me, saying she has made so much improvement, didn't make a whole lot of lineups her sophomore year, and she's contributing now to Towson in the all-around and has stepped up into a leadership role. So really nice to see that. Now we're going to see Kaja Hislop, and if you haven't seen Kaja vault before, get ready because she is a powerhouse. Wow. Oh my gosh, that is how you do a Yurchenko full. I never get tired of seeing that vault. I never get tired of it. She is so dynamic. She takes everything to the extreme. Her form is so beautiful. We're going to take a look at that on replay here. Look at the height she gets. So extended, gets great distance. She's really state of the art on this event. And now we're looking at Jazz Kaufman here, the last performer for Towson. And again, just waiting there. And that's another one of those Tkachev release moves. Again, just a little bit of amplitude deduction on that, I would say. The judges will take a deduction if there's not sufficient height in the release moves. I think every single one of these gymnasts has done the full pirouette into the double back. I do really like that. It's a nice combination pass. And they, again, just a little bit of work to do on some of those pirouetting elements, but overall strong rotation. And Kaja Hislop coming in with that 9.9 in the anchor spot for UNC. And I have to say, her form is so perfect on that Yurchenko full. I don't think it's out of the realm of possibility that she will get a 9.95 sometime in her career. Again, reminding you that that is out of a 9.95 start value. So we're going to step away, be back in a minute, and we will catch you up with all the scores here on ACC Network Extra.
Take a look at the back of your perfect 10 card to see if you are today's winner of the Alumni Hall Lucky Fan Giveaway. Please come to the marketing table to claim your prize. Alumni Hall, your one-stop shop for all things Carolina. The Carolina Gymnastics program will be hosting summer camps on the UNC campus. Overnight Camp 1 will be June 16th through the 19th. Overnight Camp 2 will be July 5th through July 8th. The day camp will take place on July 9th through July 11th. For more information about the camps, please visit www.tarhillgymnasticscamps.com.
And welcome back to ACC Network Extra. This is Christina Chauvenet. We're just taking a look at some of the highlights from Rotation 1 here with the University of North Carolina and Towson University. Looking at Alexis Allen here on vault, performing that Yurchenko half, just a little bit short there, but overall strong rotation for Carolina. Madison Hargrave really getting good amplitude on this vault, just a tiny bit of pike down in that hop. And now seeing Michaela Robinson here, again with one of these really big Yurchenko fulls, gets really nice height on that. Scored a 9.8 on that vault. And looking at another angle here, yeah, maybe just a little bit of pike down in the last bit of that vault, but really nice. And then here is the highlight of the rotation, Kaja Hislop with this gorgeous Yurchenko full. That is so beautiful. I think she does that as well as anyone in the NCAA. And for Sarah Finnegan fans out there, I love Sarah Finnegan's full. She's beautiful as well, but I think Kaja is right in that league with her. So now you're getting a look at some of those scores here. Again, Kaja's score, that 9.9 at the back, and Michaela Robinson, those scores really built. They were able to drop. Megan Ruzicka had that fall on her Yurchenko full, but really nice build throughout the rotation. Towson, talked about the strategy behind the lineups, and Courtney Baker in that leadoff spot, doing that really difficult Maloney to Pack Salto combination, and that is their highest scoring routine. I think they did a great job. We're really consistent across the rotation. Just some form issues to improve on there, but strong job. And I think when you have athletes that can hit their routines consistently, working in those fine-tuning details is a lot easier than working on some of the issues around hitting routines regularly. And I'm really impressed with this with the Towson team here. You're looking at Mary Fredericks, one of the assistant coaches for Towson University. And if she looks familiar to you, that is because she was a really accomplished gymnast in the 90s, competed as Mary Beth Arnold. She was the alternate for the 1996 Olympic team and was a member of the 1995 Pan American team that claimed gold, and also a member of the 1995 World Championship team, won a medal as part of that team as well. And we're getting started here. Emerson Hurst, that leadoff vault for Towson. She's a freshman, has been really, really valuable to their team thus far. Really nice vault there. That vault is valued out of a 9.9. You see it's a different entry. It's a handspring front pike, so she doesn't do a round off onto the table. Really like that variety in the lineup. That vault starts out of a 9.9. And she was named the EAGL Rookie of the Week last week, has just been really dynamic for Towson, is also excellent to watch on the balance beam, so we'll see her on that event next. And now we're moving to Carolina with Megan Ruzicka, and has this really beautiful ginger she's going to do off the top of her routine. That full turn right into it. Good job. She struggled there last week, fell in the leadoff spot, but is recovering really nicely. She's got a double layout dismount. A couple of places in there where she had form issues, but really nice job for her to come back and hit that routine in that leadoff position. When I talked to Derek Galvin about the meet last week, he said, with bars, it was really tough for some of those athletes in the leadoff position. Megan, usually a really strong competitor, he just thought that some of the other athletes later in the lineup maybe tightened up, got a little bit anxious because of the fall in that leadoff spot. So important to get the team off to a good start. And Emerson Hurst in that leadoff spot for Towson got a 9.7. Her vault was valued out of a 9.9, so really good job there. And now this is Leah Smith. and doing that tucked Yurchenko full. So same style, but she keeps her leg tucked during the vault. That vault also valued out of a 9.9. So you're seeing some of the Towson vaults are starting from a little bit lower than all of the UNC vaults started out of a 9.95. We'll see some of those later in the lineup. But I know that the coaching staff told me they're really trying to work on building their consistency. Going to try and upgrade some of those vaults later in the season. But nice job for Towson. And now we're looking at Michaela Williams. And this is the only event that she regularly competes for the Tar Heels. Nice Jaeger release move there. A little bit shy on that handstand. Good handstand on that bail, though. And she told me she's really trying to hone in, stay in the moment, focus skill by skill. Again, just a little bit shy on that last handstand. Another one of those athletes doing the double layout. Really nice dynamics on that double layout, though. And, you know, I mentioned Towson, all their athletes are doing the full pirouette into the double back. UNC, they all do double layouts for some reason. So I guess just that's how the team trains. All of them are doing the same dismount. So we're going to see that a lot throughout this rotation. And this is Nikki Borkowski for Towson. And there's another one of those Yurchenko laid out full, so that starts out of a 9.95. She was short on that landing, so they will take a deduction for that. You really ideally want to see the athlete complete the twist above the table. She was sort of twisting into the ground, didn't quite get as much block. When we say block, what we mean is the push off the table to be able to get the dynamics that you needed to get that vault around. But again, I'm sure one of those things that they're looking to improve throughout the season. And she still did do a good job on that landing of minimizing the deduction. And here we are with Drew Aldridge. Had that really nice vault earlier. And nice Maloney there, just a little bit of leg separation and shy on those handstands. And she does this toe on, nice handstand there into the double back. You know, she almost had that stick, did adjust slightly with that, with one of her feet, so she will incur a minor deduction for that. But really nice start to the rotation, much better than they saw last week. And here's Allie Wesley. And she's a really powerful athlete. We're going to see that later on floor exercise, but she definitely showcases it here as well. And Nikki Borkowski before her at a 9.625. Nice Yurchenko full, definitely better dynamics in that vault than we saw from Borkowski. You know, still a little bit of a pike down. Again, really wanting that extension throughout the vault, but good job. They're really building the vaults throughout the rotation. And now we're looking at Emery Summy for Carolina. She's a freshman and has been in and out of the bars lineup so far this season. It looks like she's just waiting for the go-ahead from the judges. Megan Ruzik in that leadoff spot had a 9.725. Michaela Williams had a 9.8. She's another one of those gymnasts doing that Jaeger release move. Really nice to see her handle that release move well. Struggled a little bit with it in the last home meet. And this is a really critical part. This is when we see the athlete's endurance just shy on that pirouetting element, but recovers nicely with that double back. And I'm sure Derek Calvin is really pleased with the resilience of this lineup compared to last week. And, you know, some of these athletes are coming off of, including Emery Summy, coming off of those preseason injuries. And for those athletes that were dealing with preseason injuries, it can be difficult with the endurance because they haven't put in the numbers that some of their other teammates have. And now we see Courtney Baker here waiting for the go-ahead. And she's another one of those athletes that's going to be, I believe, doing the laid out full. Really nice vault there, really good dynamics through the air. And folks, if you're wondering where she gets her power from, she's another one of the athletes from Breston, so you know what that means, Breston leg time. We've got triple Breston legs here in Carmichael Arena, trained at Breston's in Massachusetts, along with Kaja Hislop and Lily Dean. So a little bit of a club reunion going on here tonight, which is really nice to see. And now we're seeing Grace Donahue. She's a junior. Really beautiful to watch on this event. What I want you to look at is her toe point. She really has exquisite toe point and extension throughout her elements. Doing that straddled Jaeger, really nice. She fell on that last week. And this is just a little bit shy, although better than she has done with that bail. That is a place that she has struggled with a little bit. And she's doing that double layout as well for her dismount. Nice stretch throughout the routine, just that step forward, but I think that's the best routine I've seen her do this season. And Emery Summy before her had a 9.675. So the Tar Heels are really getting in some solid numbers. This is not their best event. We're going to see their best events are vault and floor. But what they really want to do here is just hit their routines, get some of those consistent scores. They don't have the routines that are going to break into the 9.9s and those high 9.8s, but they want to see their athletes be hitting in that 9.7 range, which they've done so far. And this is Kyla Gamble. She's also coming off a preseason injury, and the volunteer assistant coach told me, yeah, weren't sure if she was going to vault. She's capable of doing a half, but I think they just held her back because she's pretty new to being able to train. That was really nice dynamics in that layout, though. It only starts out of a 9.75, so really not the scoring ability that you saw from some of those other vaults in the lineup, but really nice job. You can tell that she has the mechanics to work towards a more difficult vault. And now we're looking at Riley Dewhurst, the anchor for Carolina. And she is another one of those really beautiful athletes to watch on this event. She does that Maloney transition. Really nicely done. And maybe just a little bit shy on that handstand, but overall I've noticed an improvement in the dynamics of these bar routines. As she gears up, she has a double layout, and in my opinion, it's the best one in the Carolina. Look at that stretch, just that step. She really is capable of sticking that landing, but absolutely beautiful dynamics in the air. She keeps her body position so stretched. And Kyla Gamble in that sixth position for Towson, getting a 9.5. Again, remembering that vault starts out of a 9.75. So vault total for Towson, the unofficial vault total, 48.525. And the bar score for Carolina so far, 48.650. So the low score right now is Emery Summy's 9.675. I imagine that Riley's score is going to be better than that, so they're probably going to have an improvement on that score. I'm really impressed with how both of the teams have performed so far. Carolina coming back from a really rough rotation on bars. Last week, they only scored a 47.35. So it's really good to see them come back. And again, the other 3 rotations were really nice in the high 48s. And now we have a exhibition here from Emily White. Just as a reminder, these exhibition routines do not count towards the team total. They are just an opportunity for some athletes that maybe aren't quite ready for the lineup. We see this Jaeger here. Oh my gosh. She looked like she caught that very awkwardly. I was just going to say, she's another one of those athletes that has been struggling a little bit with endurance because she was recovering from an off-season injury, but has great skills. Look at this stalter, so cool. You really rarely see that in gymnastics. Into that double back, just not her day. She's really working though towards improving that consistency. You can see she's a really nice bar worker. Just probably needs some more repetitions. And I'm solo today commentating. If you want to get involved in the conversation, tweet me, use the hashtag NCAA Gym. Use the NCAA Gym hashtag. You can tweet me at @CChauvenet. Let me know what you think of the meet, who you've been impressed by. I'll step aside during this rotation break, and we'll be back here in a moment on ACC Network Extra. And welcome back to college gymnastics here on ACC Network Extra. We are midway through a dual meet between Towson University and the University of North Carolina as we get a look at Grace Donahue here opening things for the Tar Heels. They had 2 meets ago, they had a really rough performance on beam, ended up having to count 2 falls. Last week, they did a really good job, had one of their best beam performances of the season. So we're really looking for this leadoff position is so important because it builds the confidence of the other athletes in the lineup. And she's gearing up for her series. We're going to see a lot of this acrobatic series. An acrobatic series is a requirement in NCAA gymnastics, and this back handspring layout step out, really good fight there. She was off on that. You saw she had to lift that leg, so that will be a deduction anytime a gymnast has to make an adjustment like that. But she fought through it. A nice connection there. She has struggled to connect those dance elements. Connecting 2 dance elements also a requirement, as is that full turn. She's really working through this routine well. One of the things you really want to look for on beam is how gymnasts react when things aren't perfect. So she has had a couple of adjustments to make, but she's managed to make those corrections. Really nice job there. Make those corrections without breaking the rhythm of the routine too much. And a lot of the UNC gymnasts are doing a gainer pike dismount off the end of the beam, and Grace is one of those. Really nice job there. I think that's the best beam routine I've seen her do this season. You see she gets a hug from Emma Simpson there, former Penn State gymnast and first-year assistant coach for the Tar Heels. Last year was a volunteer assistant coach at NC State, and I think she's done a really great job with the Tar Heel beam lineup. The UNC has gone through some coaching changes over the past 4 years or so. Amy Smith and Whitney Johnson, who were the associate and assistant coaches respectively, now at Utah State doing a great job over there. Taylor Spears was here last year, former national champion from the University of Oklahoma, and now we have Emma Simpson. So they have had to deal with some coaching changes, but I think they're doing really well this season. And you see Courtney Baker starting off there with that split 1.5, really difficult dance element. And I mentioned she's from Brescian. She does the same opening pass as her club teammate, Lily Dean, that front through to a double back. Nice. double pike to close there. She was just a little bit short and actually came pretty close to going out of bounds, but managed to save it. Really wasn't quite as crisp as I've seen her on some of her tumbling passes, but has some really difficult dance elements in that routine and does a nice job with that. She's one of those athletes that only does 2 tumbling passes, so a lot of people think that you have to do 3 tumbling passes in an NCAA floor routine. That is not true. What you have to do is do 3 saltos or 3 different flips. But if you do a combination pass like she did that punch front into the double back, that fulfills that requirement. She builds the rest of her difficulty through those dance elements. As we look at Alexis Allen here for Carolina. Nice full turn there. And she's gearing up. Again, one of those athletes doing the back handspring layout step out. We are going to look for pauses because gymnasts can incur a rhythm deduction. Nice back handspring layout there. Again, maybe just a little bit of correction on landing. But for the first season in NCAA gymnastics, gymnasts can incur a rhythm deduction if they pause for more than 2 seconds. So you really want to see them moving through these routines just like they do on floor exercise. And so if the judges feel like the gymnast is pausing for too long, then they can take a deduction. A nice aerial there. She's really working through this routine confidently. Just the dismount. Really nice job there. Maybe just a tiny slide on that gainer full dismount, but really strong start for Carolina. 2 good routines. And Grace Donahue in that leadoff spot had a 9.525. Just a couple of areas that she had some deductions, had some balance issues, but is one of those scores, they could count it if they had to. Hopefully they will be able to drop it later in the lineup. As we get set here on floor with Nikki Borkowski. Courtney Baker in that leadoff spot, 9.625. Just not ready for that landing. Has to take those steps backward. Front layout to front full for that final pass. Just had some issues on those landings throughout the routine. But, she fought through that. Really important in the lineup, especially when you're early in the lineup. You don't know what's going to come later in the lineup. That is probably a score that they will want to drop, assuming the rest of their gymnasts hit their routines, because she did incur quite a lot of deductions on those landings. On floor, what we're looking for on the landings is for gymnasts to take controlled lunges. They don't have to stick it cold like they do on vault or bars dismounts, for example, but they do need to take a controlled lunge back. As we look at Lily Dean here, Alexis Allen in the second spot had a 9.725. Nice to see her hit that. She did fall on that series at the last home meet. Good extension through that switch side. In all of those split elements, the judges are looking for the gymnast to hit 180 degrees. nice fight there. She was a little bit under-rotated on that aerial. And so that's one of those places she intended to connect those elements, and this is how gymnasts build start value. So she intended to connect those, didn't connect those, so that will affect her start value. Really nice dismount there. You know, she is going to get dinged for not connecting those dance elements, but did a good job in recovering. Really seeing a lot more confidence from these UNC gymnasts, even in just dealing with adversity that comes within the routine. And that's one of the things that the assistant coach Emma told me, that she's really working with the athletes to say, you know, you're not going to be perfect every time, and that's okay. It's how you deal with that and making those adjustments that is really important. So good to see that. This is Tess Zientek here. And goes out of bounds, so when the athlete goes out of bounds like that, she's going to incur a 0.1 deduction for going out of bounds, in addition to additional deduction for those steps backwards. One and a half to front layout there to end. You know, unfortunately, in her opening pass, she had that out of bounds and several steps backwards, so that's probably going to be in the realm of a 3 to 4/10 deduction. And she struggled a little bit with some of her leap elements in the middle. Good last pass, though. Really good to see her recover. And, you know, one of the things we're going to be looking for, the floor is one of those events where endurance is a big factor. So it really speaks a lot to her endurance that she was able to come back and have a nice final pass. Now we're seeing Kaja Hislop on beam. And, you know, speaking of lineup strategies, and I'm not just mentioning this because they mentioned this on last week's Gymcastic, but I think lineup strategies are really interesting. Kaja is the top performer on beam for the Tar Heels, that aerial to back handspring there as her acrobatic series. But they choose to put her in the middle of the lineup, and I think that's because, you know, she is a really sturdy competitor. So they do know, I say that, commentator jinx there. She's usually really right on that double stag, but again, she can work through those errors. And so, you know, if they do have adversity early in the lineup, they know that they can count on Kaja to come back and hit in the middle of the lineup. Nice extension. Look at these leaps. This is 180 degrees. It's just, she's such a talented athlete and really has just impeccable form on all of her elements. Like right there, finishing that turn on releve, which is one of the things, again, that when I talked to the coaching staff, said they are trying to really focus on some of those little details. That aerial full, just the tiniest of slides. You know, not the crispest that I've seen from Kaja, but another strong routine. And Kaja is, you know, one of those athletes. When I talked to Derek Galvin about her, he said, you know, obviously Kaja is a tremendous athlete, but she also has really good composition. When she has a mistake, she's able to deal with it. She tends to be pretty laid back, so doesn't tend to get very nervous, or at least if she does, she doesn't show it. And looking at Melissa Temkoff here. Just a little bit short on that double pike. She has to take that lunge forward. We really want to see her take the lunge backward to show full control. Front layout to front full there. Really nice routine. That's probably going to be Towson's strongest score so far. She was a little bit short on that opening double pike, but had really good form. Had a nice final pass there as well, and probably the best control in terms of the landings that we've seen so far. And now we're looking at Riley Dewhurst, following up Kaja Hislop's 9.8. You know, I love to watch Riley on this event. She has such a beautiful line. Look at that full turn. Nice series there. She had a fall on that 2 weeks ago. And good extension there as well. She's a really flexible athlete as well, and she really showcases that flexibility throughout this routine. Nice connection there in that front aerial into the beat jump. And here's where she shows off that flexibility I was talking about. And she does the gainer. Really nice routine. That's probably going to be her season high. Such a beautiful beam worker, and it's good to see her getting more and more consistent on that event. She shows so much consistency on the uneven bars, got that a 9.75 on bars earlier today, and she hasn't quite reached that level of performance in her beam work, but she's certainly capable. So nice to see her continue to build those scores. And here's Allie Wesley again, from North Carolina. She's a junior. Oh gosh. Just really lost control of that landing. Nice combination pass into that double stag jump there. Nice recovery after that first pass. It almost looked like she really wasn't ready for the landing. Obviously has plenty of power. But just, it's Towson hasn't been able to hone in on those landings so far this rotation. And now we're back with Carolina and Jamie DeChico after Riley Dewhurst got a 9.8. Oh gosh, and really too bad to see her fall on that. She didn't see a lot of lineup action. Her first 3 seasons at Carolina, had an injury earlier in her career that prohibited her, and really has worked her way into this lineup and has been beautiful for them so far. And that switch half's really difficult. This is what I really like about Jamie's work. She has so many different skills. She really has wonderful form on this event and takes everything sort of to the maximum of the element. She does, up here with her dance series, she does a pike jump, which you don't see very often in NCAA. Really beautiful form through that. And she does that gainer pike as well off the end of the beam. Nice recovery. I know she's going to be disappointed with that because she has been so consistent for them this season, but I do think it's a good thing that Carolina was able to fight through some mistakes earlier in the lineup. That does mean they are going to have to count 2 9.525s. Both Grace Donahue and Lily Dean got 9.525s. Grace had some breaks throughout her routine. Lily Dean had that missed connection. She didn't connect her dance elements, which led to a 2/10 deduction. So that means they will have to count both of those scores. Seeing Leah Smith here for Towson. Goes out of bounds there. Nice double back. And Towson just hasn't been as crisp as I saw them last week. They really knocked their floor routines out of the park. I think the mechanics in these floor routines are there. They're just really struggling with the landings. And some part of me wonders, I think the mid-season is a really difficult time for these athletes. The first couple seasons, the first couple meets, you're so excited and ready to go. This is the lull in between now and when you can think forward to conference championships and postseason. And I think that can be really hard. And these athletes are competing pretty much every weekend. As we see Emery Summy here in exhibition for Carolina. And just, I could see on her back handspring she was pretty far off in that layout step out. As I mentioned, she's recovering from an off-season injury and is working her way back in consistency. Did an exhibition routine last week at Pittsburgh for the first time. But as I mentioned, as I was saying with Towson, I think, you know, they are competing week on and week off. And Jason Frederick, the volunteer assistant coach for Towson, told me, you know, because Towson are dealing with a number of injuries right now, they don't have a ton of depth, so they don't have the ability to rest some of those athletes. And so I just think that might be what's going on with some of the landings. Nice extension through that straddle jump. She's gearing up for her dismount here. It's a double twist. Really nice job. You know, you can tell she's still kind of gaining her confidence on that event, but I think it's a really good thing to do, to put these athletes in exhibition, get them comfortable with performing in front of this big crowd, especially for a freshman. That experience is really critical, so that, as I was talking about Towson, you have the ability to rest athletes later in the season if you want to. As we look at the scores from rotation 3, and you know, this rotation for Carolina, 48-375, they're not going to be happy with that. You know, I think they again had to count those 2.95 2.5s. They're really capable of getting up into the high 48s, and you know, if they knock it out of if every athlete knocks it out of the park into those 49s. But they did show a lot of resilience, because honestly, this wasn't a great day for them. They did have athletes that were struggling, and they still managed to salvage some good routines from it and minimize deductions along the way. And you know, they really want to start breaking into those mid 195 scores, and it's really hard to do that if you have a rotation where your overall score is in the 47s. You know, they're going to come back, they're going to do a great job on floor. That's their best event, but I do think they have shown a lot of resilience on balance beam. And we're just seeing Rain Gordon doing another exhibition routine here for Carolina. Really nice Sison there. That's that leap, or jump actually, into that 180 degrees. And that's another one of those places, that aerial to back tuck, that's her acrobatic series. You know, it was just a little bit slow, and I know that this is something that people have very strong feelings about in NCAA gymnastics. If front to back connection should be allowed. Some people feel like you can't truly have an acrobatic connection if it's front to back, because your momentum isn't going that way. I have to say, overall, I tend to agree. I prefer the back handspring layout step outs, or the movement in the same direction. But I also think it's just, you know, honestly, when you're doing those front to backs, it's really easy to incur a rhythm deduction, because you do have to switch the direction of your momentum. There's that double stag jump that we saw from Kaja earlier. And, you know, as I mentioned, Carolina has had, you know, 3 different beam coaches in 4 years, so that can be a lot to adjust to, although, as we see, nice stuck landing there. Emma Simpson, great beam coach, really strong gymnast herself for Penn State, and also went to the same gym as Taylor Spears. They both trained at Woga in Texas, home of 2008 Olympic champion Nastya Liukin and 2004 Olympic champion Carly Patterson. So I just wonder if there might be some similar styles there in coaching. Both had the same training growing up. And so we're looking at those final scores from the rotation. You know, this wasn't the best rotation for either team. With Towson, they really did struggle on some of those landings, some of those out of bounds elements, and you know, just didn't really have any of those scores into those 9-7, 9-8 range. So that's going to be an area they really have to work on if they want to qualify for regionals. And I asked Jason Fredericks about that. I said, what is your what is your mindset? Do you focus just on hitting routines? So she really does, depending on who else is in her regional, she really has an excellent chance. And the thing about Kaja is she does not have any what we call built-in deductions in her routines. What I mean by built-in deductions are the kind of technique where like a gymnast is just not quite able to perform the skill to the standard for which they wouldn't receive a deduction even on their best day. Kaja doesn't have any of those. Kaja is really a technically excellent gymnast to watch, so I think she is really primed to make national championships if she has a good day at regionals. And that's another thing. I think last year Carolina narrowly missed qualifying for regionals, and so Kaja had to compete on her own. She was in Raleigh, so she had all of her teammates were in the stands, but I think that if Carolina is able to make it to regionals and make it to that second day, that will also put Kaja in a better place to make it. So I hope you're sufficiently exhausted by my explanation. Check out the balance beam situation if you want to read more as we get started here on the balance beam. And we've got Allie Wesley here. Had a little bit of a rough time on floor. Nice opening series there. Back handspring layout, step out. Nice full turn. And again, needs to be keeping that rhythm throughout the routine. She's doing a good job so far. And I think, again, those rhythm deductions are something that's a little bit controversial. Some people feel like there are more important things to focus on than the rhythm deductions. As we see that aerial tucked full, just a little hop there. Nice job, though. Good start for Towson. Yeah, some people, and I do agree there are other things to focus on. However, I would agree, though, that I think that the rhythm deductions are a good thing, because I think we want to see that same kind of performance on floor exercise. We want to see it fluid. We want to see the athletes perform. So I think that's good incentive. My concern is those deductions are not universally applied by the judges, and that is an area where we really need to improve. As we see Jamie Antonori starting here for Carolina on floor. Nice double pike to open there. Really nice form through that second pass. Nice job for Jamie. She struggled a little bit with endurance in that final pass. You can see she's pretty happy with that routine. That's the best final pass that I've seen her do. And you see her getting a hug there from Marie Case-Denick, former standout athlete at Kent State. And Brittany Ranty here up next on balance beam. Allie Wesley had a 9.725 in that leadoff spot. And that's a really cool series there, that dive cartwheel, which you don't see very often. And I'm just a big fan of variety in lineups. I love it when athletes do something different. really nice dance connection there as well. And does that inside turn. She really has a wide variety of skills in this routine. And that side jump, that side straddle jump, which you don't see a lot of people do from that side-facing position on beam. And there's that gainer pike we saw from a lot of the Carolina athletes. Just a small hop there, but strong routine for Towson. You know, this is a really important event for them because they didn't get the scores that they wanted on floor. But they have a lot of really great beam workers. So I think that this is definitely a strong event for them. A couple little areas, you know, I think she could have stuck that gainer pike, just maybe didn't quite, commit to it enough, but just a couple small places, but strong routine. And this is Megan Ruzicka, that graduate student that I mentioned earlier. Yeah, again, that corner has not been kind to gymnasts tonight going out. Just a little under-rotated there, but manages to save it. Yeah, and you know, just didn't quite have the landings there. You know, Megan did tell me she's really been working on her floor endurance. You know, she was working over the summer. She's a graduate student. And I think it's so impressive that she's competing as a graduate student. But she, so she had to work over the summer. She didn't get as much training in, coming back, training in the fall. Some of those endurance issues I think we are seeing there, and then just lack control on that first pass. And this is Leah Smith here for Towson. And that's one of those places that was a borderline rhythm deduction. Her pause before her series there. You know, she just looks a little bit tentative, had that bobble on her full turn. And, you know, work through the problems in that routine. But when I say, you know, she looked a little tentative, you know, sometimes the problem on balance beam is when you are tentative, you don't, sometimes you're not going for the skills, you're not taking them to their full extension as you normally would, and so you incur some additional deductions there. Saw her bobble on that full turn, which that can sometimes be, the full turn is kind of a good check to see, you know, if the gymnast is working balance beam a little bit tight. As we look at Michaela Robinson here. And, you know, we saw her on vault. She is a really dynamic floor performer. You know, she is capable of doing a Arabian double front, competed that her freshman year. Said she doesn't plan to compete it this season, really just focusing on getting her routine as clean as she can. She doesn't need it to start from a 10.0. She has a huge double pike here. I mean, she really takes that one into the rafters. Nice middle pass there in combination. Wow. You know, I think that's the best routine I've seen her do this season. She's got a season high of 9.825. You know, I think that that's probably going to be her new season high. Such good control of those landings. And, you know, she really has, she's always had the power. What I'm noticing about her this year is she has just been able to control the powers. You know, she's able to take those controlled lunges back. She's doing so much better with those landings, and really nice to see. And we're seeing Melissa Temkoff here. Really difficult back handspring layout to 2 feet, and she fell on that last week, so it was a little bit off, but good to see her recover. Nice dance combination. You see a lot of the Towson gymnasts doing that split half, which is a difficult, and that inside turn. You know, sometimes you see this from the gymnast because the coaching staff is very good at teaching it. There are preferences like this, so it's kind of interesting to notice those patterns across teams. Maybe just a little bit shy there in that switch side lead. Nice dismount there, that layout full. Really strong routine for Towson. And, you know, I mentioned earlier Michaela Robinson had that season high of 9.825. It wasn't quite right. She matched her season high with a 9.825, but really strong routine for her. We're back to Russian legs here with Lily Dean. And here's that same pass as her club teammate, punch front through to that double back. Really nice. Nice double pike. And, you know, again, I gotta say, I really think that that is the best I've seen Lily Dean do this season in terms of controlling those landings. You're seeing from these last couple athletes really that control on those landings that the judges are looking for. And, you know, I really think, like, the back of this UNC lineup is so dynamic, has such good control. Really good job. Megan Ruzicka, 9.325, so that is the score that they will be looking to drop. And Marielle Arduino here, She is one of my favorites to watch on this event. She has really nice extension, and she does this triple series on beam coming up right here. Back handspring, layout, step out, really nice. Really beautiful work. I love to see that level of difficulty being done in NCAA. And that aerial to full, stuck landing, really nice. She has the Towson record on balance beam, 9.95. I don't think she's gonna go quite that high today, but that will definitely be their highest score. The current highest score is Allie Wesley with a 9.725, but I think that should be above that.
Up next for the target,
And here's Kaja Hislop. And if you're wondering why it seems like Kaja is looks like a professional athlete, it's because it runs in her family. Her dad, Shaka Hislop, is a former professional soccer player or football player for any of our European listeners out there. He competed in the Premier League for West Ham in London, among other teams, and also was the goalkeeper for Trinidad and Tobago in the 2006 World Cup. Really historic appearance for Trinidad and Tobago. Kaja herself was on the Trinidad and Tobago national team, hoped to compete for them internationally. It didn't quite work out for her. She just had some injuries that prevented her from doing that. But I gotta say, it's really great to see her thriving in this collegiate environment. And we'll see if she can control this landing. Front layout to that Rudy. Nice job there. And she shows off her gorgeous split positions here. Look at that extension. Wow. Kaja Hislop, such a powerhouse on this event. I mean, she's great on all the events, but this is where she really showcases her power. That's why she's ranked 17th in the country on that event. And now we're seeing Emerson Hurst here for Towson. And she's ranked 35th nationally on balance beam. Been very consistent for Towson in her freshman season. Nice back handspring layout, step out. I actually think she's a little bit over-rotated, but managed to correct that landing really well. And that switch leap series in combination is pretty rare because it's hard to get that second split position, but she did a pretty good job. Such excellent positions through all of these leaps. Just some extra power there on that dismount. Really the only place in where she struggled in that routine. Really beautiful workers. I really have enjoyed this Towson beam lineup. They have unusual elements in their routines. You know, some struggles in the middle of the lineup, but really, really impressive routines, especially towards the end of that lineup. Arduino and Hurst back to back, they are excellent beam workers. Madison Hargrave now. Kaja Hislop before her got a 9.875. And here's that tricky front double full. Really improved her form on that over the years. And that's one of those places, and I would say that's not quite a controlled lunge, is a little bit bigger than we'd like to see. One and a half to that front layout. Really nice lift. Really nice lift through that last pass. You know, she's so aggressive with her landings. And as I mentioned, she's really improved the form on her passes. You know, that first pass, that front double full, really difficult. And a lot of gymnasts do get deductions because of form, bent legs throughout that. She's really improved that. And she just has so much fun while she's performing on floor. I really like watching her. And this is Zoe Packard performing an exhibition. Unofficial total on beam for Towson, 48.550. And you had Mary L. Arduino with that triple series going 9.85. Emerson Hurst, 9.8. So really strong last two performances for Towson. And just a pretty big break on that. When you see an athlete bend at the hips like that, that's going to incur a 3/10 deduction. And that's another one of those places probably intended to connect that entire series. And that is how athletes build their start value. You do have to complete a number of different requirements on balance beam, but then you have to build bonus, and that's probably one of the ways she's building bonus. So likely won't get that. She won't get a 10.0 start value. But this is what doing an exhibition routine is about. It's about getting your routine out there, trying to build towards breaking into the lineup as you get further along in the season. Particularly important for Towson because, as I mentioned, they don't have quite the amount of depth that some other teams do. So I'm sure that they would like to build in some scores that meant they could rest their athletes later in the season. So again, we're looking at that the final scores from rotation 4. Floor for Carolina, 48.9. We do see them get into the 49 sometimes. Some of those scores, and I gotta say, I do disagree with Lily Dean's score there, that 9.75. A little bit low to me, although she did have a lunge on her double pike that was a little bit larger than usual. I would have gone slightly higher than that. But Megan Ruzicka, struggled with her opening pass and had a couple other landing issues. So not quite the numbers that they have, but they're so dynamic on this event that they really, they have these athletes that are going in the 98 range week in, week out. For Towson, I think, they can be really proud of their performance on balance beam. They, were able to drop that 9.050 in the middle, and as I mentioned, just really impressed with the level of difficulty they're throwing, the variety in the sets, and loved that triple series from Muriel Arduino there. So we're going to take a break here. We'll be back with the official final results here on ACC Network Extra. And welcome back to ACC Network Extra. I'm Christina Chauvenet, looking at some of those highlights from that last rotation. Here's Carolina on floor, their standout event. Jamie Antonori doing a nice job there. Megan Ruzicka, this is her final pass. Struggled a little bit with those landings. Michaela Robinson, though, what a powerful athlete, has really honed in on her landings. Best I've seen her do this season, got her 9.825. And this is Lily Dean, punch front to that double back. We can't even get in the cameras, folks. That's how big it is. She is so powerful. Really nice double pike to end there. And Kaja Hislop, I mean, what can you say? That is how you do a Rudy right there. She, could be in a, how-to video on these passes. Look at this double back. This is so easy for Kaja. Really love her on this event. Madison Hargrave, again, I mean, particularly the back of this floor lineup is just so powerful. You see that 1.5 to front layout. She's really worked hard on getting good lift through that front layout. Really excellent job for Carolina. You see those team scores. Carolina 195.075, getting the win over Towson, who with a 193. And, I think in the final thoughts about this meet, Towson really struggled on floor. They really struggled with some of their landings. Came back really well on beam, finished strong there. So that was really nice to see. They do have some lower scores from early in the season in the 191s that they want to drop. So keep in mind, wins and losses don't matter in NCAA gymnastics, apart from pride. But that doesn't have any bearing on your ranking. So what you're really looking at is, are these teams building their score? Are they able to build towards a good RQS score? And with Towson, their average is a 194.075 right now. A 192.425. Their season high is a 194.075. So with that 193, that is going to improve their average. So that bodes well for them. Same with Carolina. They're actually just a 10th off their season high with that 195.150. That's they got a 195.075, excuse me. So they're just off their season high. I think that Carolina is certainly capable of getting into those mid to high 195s. We really just need to see a little bit more consistency, particularly on beam. That was a place that they struggled, having one fall, but also struggling a little bit with some of those dance connections.
The Tar Heels, Michaela Robinson and Drew Aldridge. And your champion with a score of 9.9. From the Tar Heels, Kaja Hislop. Congratulations, gymnast. Now salute. Moving on to the bars. They have a three-way tie for second from Towson, Courtney Baker. And from the Tar Heels, Riley Dewars and Grace Donahue, all with a 9.75. Champion with a 9.8 from the Tar Heels, Michaela Williams. Congratulations, gymnast. You can salute. From the Tar Heels, Riley Works and Kaja Islam, all with a 9.8. And your being champion with a score of 9.85 from Towson, Marielle Ardrina. All right, gymnasts, salute. Next for the floor, we have a two-way tie for third with a 9.75. From the Tar Heels, Madison Hargrave and Lily Dean. In second place with a 9.825 from the Tar Heels, Michaela Robinson. And your floor champion with a score of 9.875 from the Tar Heels, Kaja Islam. All right, gymnasts, you may salute. Next, for the all-around. In second place with a 37.75, Leah Smith from Towson. And your all-around champion with 38.475 from Towson, Allie Wesley. Congratulations, gymnasts. You can salute. Now for your team standings. Team standings in second place with a final score of 193. Towson University. And your champions with a 195.075. Give it up for the Tar Heels.